Hello and welcome to the season finale of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed GT Series, Drag Racer GT Series, Season 13 coming to a close tonight. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Daniel Lee, Scott Newton on the cameras, bringing you this final round of the series on Apex Racing TV. And it's been a superb season, Daniel. It has been less chaotic of a season than we usually see. I've mentioned this a couple of times in earlier rounds, how usually if you can win more than 2 races across the season, then that's mind-blowing. We have seen domination from Ross Rizzo. He's already sewn up the championship when you take into consideration the drop scores. So it's one last hurrah for these drivers, but there's still a couple of championships which need to be decided.
Yeah, good evening, Sam, and all the viewers tuning in. Great to get you back for the final event. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think the circuit itself could be very interesting. The championship has been phenomenal throughout the course of this season 13, and really looking forward to seeing it come to its conclusion. We know Rizzo being very, very dominant, and we'd love to see whether he can do that one again, although was knocked off the top step last round, so a little bit of redemption possibly on the cards for him tonight if he can try and get the win again.
Yeah, I'm sure he would like to finish the season on a high. Rizzo with, out of the 11 rounds, I believe 8 wins, which is pretty phenomenal, winning all of the 4 endurance meetings as well. He has been really the man to beat, but as you say, Craig Edwards taking the race win last time out, and so he will be trying to put a challenge on. And also Timothy Phoeben, former champion from a couple of seasons ago, he will be starting on pole position. Of course, Zolder for this round, a circuit that the drivers may not be too familiar with, and you can see it's pretty cool out on circuit as well, so plenty of grip for the drivers. Not a lot of run-up areas. Again, an old-school circuit, Daniel, and a lot of chicanes out here, a lot of tight corners. Incidents can be of plenty around this circuit. Hopefully we avoid too much of that, but certainly a nice challenge. We ended in Spa last season. We've returned to Belgium for this season finale as well.
Yeah, it's a really good way to conclude out what has been a stellar season. I think for this circuit here, it's a track we don't use anywhere near enough. Obviously, we saw how good the Spa race was. Continue back here, though, very, very different style of circuit. Not as open and flowing as what we saw last week out, which is going to be a little bit of a different change for these drivers. And remember, in the conclusion of that one with Trak to the drivers post-interview, Ross Rizzo very thoughtful on the way the cars were going to handle around this circuit tonight. The forward very good with a point and shoot type scenario, which this circuit has in spades. So a lot of tight corners for the guys to negotiate, some very tricky chicanes that they're going to have to work their way through as well. But we're seeing some differences in how the qualifying turned out. Porsche is out front tonight, which is a little bit of surprise considering what we have seen over the course of the season, but great to see a Porsche up towards the pointy end of the field.
Yeah, from what I know, the Porsche seems to be slightly the fastest GT car. I think it really varies from track to track. I know at Silverstone that the Porsche is by far the fastest, but there are other circuits where maybe you haven't got quite as many fast sweepers. Maybe the other cars come into play a little bit as the session advances. We had pre-qualifying, a couple of splits tonight, and these are the top half of those drivers, so some very high quality drivers out on circuit for this one. And on pole position then, for potentially the first time this season, certainly hasn't got a race win so far this season, it is Timothy Phoeben. And in second place, Ross Rizzo. Craig Edwards lines up in third. Then it's Nathan Huppert, Tom Huggan, Simon Nicholson, Aaron Specchio, Scott Sislowski, Martin Crisp, Christopher Hughes, Jordan Cullis, James Foster. And 13th place is Adam Hughes, Chris Whitesaw in 14th. There's Amanda Dalton, John Puce, Jesse Butler, Steve Janssen, Martin Silvassi, Paul Warwick, Adam Gardner, Bobby Yanovitz, Chris Pellet, Tyler Bowen, Michael Whiting, Stefan McCartan, and then the admins, Damon Mulqueen, also taking the start as well. So yeah, just under 30 cars for this race. That's a pretty good number for us to start with should avoid many of the issues. But I'm not sure how many races you broadcasted around here, Jenna, but one of my biggest memories of this circuit is definitely World GT around this place, where we had a humongous pile-up at the bridge over the crest and at the bridge section just after the first chicane, where it was an absolute pile-up. Unfortunately, fewer drivers out here than there were that day. Hopefully that will avoid some of the issues, because down into that first chicane, you can easily get a track blockage just with how tight and slow that corner is.
Yeah, it's the first time I've actually commentated on a race around here. Done a few laps around the circuit as well, which is always handy, but never commentated a race. And I think, as you were saying there, Sam, trying to get these cars stopped and through the chicane, very, very tricky. We've seen through some real-life racing when the Blancpain GT series used to come here. It was very tricky to get the cars slowed up and work their way through. It's a really technical, tight circuit, and going to be a very unique challenge for the guys to especially flow these GTE cars around through the circuit.
Yeah, it's a pretty narrow track this, so finding a way through will be a challenge for the guys. Good to see Timothy Theben back on pole position. It's been a tricky season for him. You could argue it's been a couple of tricky seasons for him. He did have a good mid-season run last championship, and dare I say he would have probably been one of the highest point scorers in the second half of last season. Unfortunately, though, was a long way off the championship contention by the time that we got into that stage of the championship. But yeah, he's got a little bit to prove, does Theben, and hopefully he can kind of get up his form today and give some excitement for next season, because it'd be great to see him back challenging for those race wins consistently.
Yeah, definitely. He's kind of had a bit of a season to forget. Obviously, lost the title last season to Joshua Thomas, and hasn't really factored quite into it throughout the course this year. But great to see getting a rebound, especially over the last couple of events. He's really started to find form again with this car, and great to see the McLaren guys getting back up to the point end of the field where we know they should be. I think it's just taken a little bit of time to readapt to following the BOP changes that we saw introduced throughout the start of this one, but really getting onto it.
Yeah, looks much stronger for him now, and hopefully we can see that Porsche fighting it out with Rizzo and co for the race win. So Timothy Theben rounding the final corner at the moment. He puts his foot on the gas, and we are away racing for 45 minutes of action at Zolder for the season finale of the Trak Racing GT Series Season 13. And it's a very strong start for Theben, staying ahead of Rizzo and Edwards. Huppers in fourth place. Cullis just moving ahead of Hughes a little bit further back, and that's a good start for him. Meanwhile, Puce with a very poor start. He was on pole position out of the rookie class, I believe, but he has made a little bit of a collision. Very much narrows on the apex for that turn one. He gets sent down the order. Also, Whiteson and Hughes having a little bit of a battle further back, but Theben has survived that initial onslaught. Not going to be easy to overtake round here, but Theben surviving those first few corners, and he starts to build a bit of momentum.
All in all, a really good start considering we only had the one incident, two incidents a little further down the field. But everyone getting back underway, which is great to see. Theben with a phenomenal jump to start trying to put a little bit of pressure and extend that lead. 5/10 as they work their way through the first lap up towards the hairpin. Now, this right here is going to be probably the spot where we're going to see a huge amount of braking opportunities for all these cars. The best spot to get down and complete one through. The teammates for Fusion Sim Racing, Nathan Huppert and Craig Edwards, flying in formation, as we've seen quite a few times throughout the course this season. They're settling into a really solid rhythm in the third and fourth position now.
Yeah, waiting just behind Edwards has been phenomenal in qualifying recently, taking a couple of pole positions at Motegi and Spa. Couldn't quite back that up for this round, but he could still be dangerous from that position. Yeah, Harper's going a much better start than what he did at Spa, of course, when he retired effectively, or had to take back to the pits on the first lap. So running on board with Kozlowski, he's obviously the backup Nicholson, who does usually qualify well. XRC usually very good in qualifying, but tends to drop down. Crucially, one of the championships which is still alive is the Pro Championship, and that's going down between Hagen and Crisp. Crisp has been taking a few points out of Hagen recently. It would need to be basically a podium for Crisp, which is very possible, seeing they got a podium last time out at Spa, but it needs to be basically a non-finish, I believe, for Hagen in order for that championship to turn around at the moment. Crisp is not doing enough, and Hagen is very much taking it out of his hands a few places ahead. So watch out for that one, Hagen versus Crisp. Like I said, Hagen pretty much has to non-finish this one in order for Crisp to catch up. As we are about to cycle through another lap. Too many moves at the moment going on for the drugs. They're pretty close still though. 28 seconds separating the top 13. As we see a drive-through penalty for the 349. I wonder if that was the incident with Puce. That would make sense, I think, because I believe Puce's number is 133. So we'll try to see who the 349 is as well. It is Jesse Butler, the amateur driver, currently third place out of the amateurs. And he is going to get that penalty. You did see Puce spin round on the first corner. Oh, we got a spin in the background, and that could be very dangerous. Dalton in the middle of the circuit. And that is very fortunate, because if that happened further up on the order, heck, if that happened on the first lap, that would have been curtains for many of the drivers. Fortunately, Dalton escaping really without any damage. And this will be a very interesting one. See how this happened. Going through the right-hander. Really fun corner in many cars and Dalton with one of the saves of the season, because that was not easy. The grass helping out Amanda quite a bit there. That's a pretty good rejoin as well. Knew when to get back onto circuit. So considering you had a spin round there, that is pretty much the best. So now you can see just ran it in a bit deep. You can see missing the apex. Got out of the throttle, but by which time was already heading for the gravel. So that's a shame for Dalton, who had a brilliant Virginia International Raceway round earlier on in the season. I believe getting a 5th position on that occasion. Has been one of the most improved drivers out on track, but not quite the final round that she would have wanted. Martin Crisp with his personal best lap on the race on that last time round. Much of an impression on Spectre. Surprised to see Crisp just a little bit further down. Usually such a good qualifier. Remember getting, I believe, a front row start in Indianapolis. Him and Nicholson occupying the front row. So for him to qualify in 9th place, slightly unusual. He does seem to have slightly better race pace, as is Lowski. He just moved ahead of Nicholson. We just saw that in the foreground previously. And there is Nicholson losing out to Scott Zolder, who certainly has won for the races rather than one for qualifying. And Nicholson does move ahead. You're pleased with that one up into 7th position. Apologies, Sasaki will be happy with that up into 6th position. I'm seeing Sasaki up 17 places. I don't believe that is correct. I think that's just my time screen. He's up a couple of places at least, I believe. So good news for him, as Whitesell is the first driver to come into the pits. And that's a little bit of an unusual one, because you can't go to the end of the race from here. Or can you? Ooh, it is a low fuel consumption circuit, this. I doubt you can go to the end of the race from here. I really have no clue why you'd want to do that. Slowdowns aren't particularly prominent. As, in fact, is it a penalty? The car 613, it is a penalty for Chris Whitesell. I don't know if maybe we could, if Scott could try to find that replay, albeit it would be very tricky to identify. But that was for a collision with the 814 car. And that was James Foster. That's Scott Neaton doing a great job. Finding this replay. Well, Whitesell's a long way behind here. Is this actually him coming into the pits? This is just him coming into the pits to serve the penalty. But that's still interesting to see, because you can see how awful the pit entry is around this circuit. It's Shanghai International Raceway. I think that's what it's called, Shanghai Circuit. On steroids, really, where you got quite a big braking area for that final chicane. and the drivers coming into the pits can just go straight on. And particularly in multi-class racing, it is very easy to wreck out a slow class. Certainly, I've had a teammate who did it before after I'd driven a perfect stint, and they unfortunately ruined the entire race for us. Meanwhile, I'm not bitter about it, and that's certainly a thing that can happen very easily around that corner. You can see Whitesall not too far away from potentially colliding with a couple of the cars who were just ahead of him. But yeah, escaping too much damage. So Vasily running in 15th place. You can see him there. Not too many drivers mega close to one another. No drivers looking like they're going to be able to pull off a move anytime soon. I wonder if you could go back to the race lead, because it's up to 9/10 of a second. Even on that last time round, lost a 10.5, but on this lap, he's lost about another 10. Gap seems to be coming back down. Rizzo just has, similar to James Scott in the AOSC series, he has an aura of arrogance to him, Rizzo, and when you're not very good at something, then arrogance isn't very fair. When you're incredibly talented at something, arrogance is totally justified and often the best means, because it gives yourself a bit of extra confidence and you can think a bit more straightly. So it can be very good. As Hughes is now into the pits, I'm not quite sure why Christopher Hughes has come into the pits, but Rizzo does certainly have that aura about him, just because you feel like he is so confident waiting behind the driver. At this point, he will be feeling so he's the favourite for this race, even though he hasn't got track position. Found a track position important. Track pretty much matching one another on that last lap. Edwards hustling closely in 3rd place. It's brilliant that the final round of the season is coming down to these 3 very impressive drivers. Huggan moves ahead of Huppers, and Huppers has had an issue, and he was putting some good pressure, or at least staying in touch with the top 3, not anymore. And Huppers, who has tended to be kind of best of the rest so far this season, has had a few issues like he did at Spa, and this is going to be the curbs, I imagine. Going into this one, just ran it in a bit deep, avoided hitting the curb too hard, but unsettled the car in doing so. And he drops down to 7th place. It's now Tom Huggan having one of his best races of the season. He's up into 4th. And yeah, Nicholson now ahead of Huppers as well. And that will be a long way to come back for Huppers. We haven't seen too many safety cars as well in recent rounds of the championship. And so unless he gets a safety car, his chance to podium will surely be over now. Huppers might even try to go for something alternative with the strategy. Hughes into the pits. I don't know what's going on in the Hughes. I don't know if there's a part that we're missing out on. Certainly in our commentary box we haven't got a view of it. Because everyone's popping on into the pits at the moment, even though I didn't really see the point in doing it. We've had Whitesall and Butler come in for penalties, but we've also had Hughes, Adam Hughes and Christopher Hughes and Chris Pellets all come into the pits for pit stops. That might be repairs, albeit I don't believe they were for repairs. So I don't know if you could maybe go to the end of the race from this part of the race and go about 35 minutes. Could well be possible around a very low fuel consumption circuit. You can imagine this place quite a slow circuit and quite a few medium speed corners. You can kind of carry the speed through each of the corners. Albeit there's a few big braking areas, so you are wasting a bit of energy, I guess. As Whitesall is off the circuit, miserable day for Chris Whitesall. Got that drive-through penalty, and he's struggled to recover ever since. He's had another off. He's down to 23rd position. James Foster was hit by, I believe it was Whitesall earlier on, but he's trying to cover now. It's a little bit of wheel spin, tipping well onto the grass as he attacks Amanda Dalton. Both these drivers out of position. Dalton with a spin earlier on, and that is a nice move. It's very tricky to go alongside. Reminds me of the harbour chicane at is it the harbour chicane? The slow chicane at Monaco, where it's impossible to go side by side. And you kind of just got to agree between the two drivers who goes ahead, as agreeing to go ahead there, Martin Crisp. Getting past his teammate, he spent a little while behind Specchier, and it was decided between the teammates that Crisp was the faster driver, and he's up into 8th place, but with a 4-second gap now to catch up to Huppers.
Yeah, nice move there between the teammates just to reset the positions and swap back and forth. And we've seen that a lot from XRC over the course of this championship. They've always seemed to have a couple of guys a little bit quicker at certain places, but as the guys work their way through, and you see the likes of Martin Crisp now coming through, getting a little bit quicker, they're able just to switch back and forward, and that's ultimately not going to hinder themselves too much, but they're in a really, really good positional run at the moment.
Yeah, not a bad place to be at the moment. Tyler Bowen has found a corner. There's been quite a few moves. Ooh, and Bowen was put off. Oh, classic. He's absolutely been done there. Oh, poor Tyler. But I am laughing at it because that's just a classic thing to do. I feel like that's happened to me before. You can imagine, Montreal's probably better, for example, isn't it, than Shanghai? But you're concentrating on the car ahead. You're not expecting them to come into the pits, and then all of a sudden, they're not braking for a very slow corner, and it can put off the best of us. And that is what happened to Bowen, I believe, and having a spin and losing some crucial seconds there. Nicholson tackling the curbs. He's got Huppers just behind him after his issue earlier on. We've now had, by the way, 5 drivers, 6 drivers even, who have come in for their pit stop. Albeit, I believe, Chris Pett's come into the pits 3 times, which seems excessive. So at least none of them have been a drive-through, I believe, just maybe a faster pair and a couple of other issues for Pellet, or race for him. But yeah, I've got plenty of drivers coming to the pits. We're just trying to get some free air. It seems like the tank can go very far in this race. Huppers, so trying to get past Nicholson, taking plenty of curb through turn 1 and heading into 2, just picking up the apex. Very satisfying corners are these. Really nice circuit this. At least the first half of the track is very satisfying. Then this right-hander can carry a lot of speed through it. And then onto the straight, but he's not going to be close enough for a move into the chicane, which is very much single file in these GTE cars.
Yeah, it's going to be all about trying to pick those opportunities. If you can get enough of a drive to try and move yourself up to have a shot, especially up into the hairpins, maybe right down into this section here, into the chicane as we watch Huppers go through, probably your best spot to try and complete those moves, but you've got to be alongside those cars. And we've seen throughout the course of this championship, over a few seasons now, these guys do not give much room. So they make you work for every opportunity, every pass you can get. And I think it's been what has been such a fantastic run throughout the course of this championship that no one gives an inch, but there's still enough respect to not put each other off into the walls.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's one of the best tempered leagues I cover, and I cover multiple leagues. I cover probably 5 or 6 leagues. So it is really impressive, the driving attitudes from these guys. So Sasky's on a charge. It's quite a bit far off the lead now, but it's not far off Tom Huggan at the moment. Sasky 4.5 tenths of a second back. He was a little bit slow on that last lap. So he's starting to get into that aero wake, which is prominent in these cars. They are slightly aero dependent, so you do lose a bit of time, albeit you do gain some time with the draft, albeit it's quite slow in this car. As we've gotten off, but John Puce, well spotted there from Scott. And this is how this one happened. Now Puce, who lined up, very good position, I think in about 14th place. With again carrying too much speed, almost identical to Huppers earlier on, where you go into that corner too deep. You know that you're going to hit that big second curve, and you try everything to avoid it. And the only way out of it is by spinning the car.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of guys over the course of this week through the practice sessions that the race stewards put up, noticed a lot of guys really trying to use as much of the road as possible, sometimes just overstepping at a fraction, getting that little bit of the grass. And we know how slick the grass is around these circuits at the moment, but just trying to straight line those chicanes as much as possible. And you're right there, Sam, trying to avoid that first portion of the chicane as you go through where those big curves are really does unsettle the cars. But in doing so, you risk a huge amount of chance of running past and through the second one and ultimately grabbing the brakes and rotating, which is what we saw at the conclusion there. And for John Pierce, not a great run, but he has got back up and running here down in the 25th, but definitely won't be the only guy to fall foul in that part of the circuit.
Yeah, I think we'll see plenty of other crashes later on, guiding them into the pits. Huppert's actually got past Nicholson there with a nice move into turn 2. Turn 1 and turn 2, the corner entry is quite wide, and Tilka would be proud. Because it kind of opens up and you can go for a dive. This first part of the track, probably the best place to go for a move, albeit it kind of depends on where your strengths and weaknesses are. That was a nice one there from Huppert's, and got it stopped. Undercut wasn't available for Nicholson, and Huppert's recovering. He's back up into 6th position now. Got a few more places to gain. Back in the lead, still a three-way fight. It seems like Edwards really... Edwards seems to lap quarters of a second slower than these guys, then he closes up by quarters of a second, and that's weird to see because these guys are so consistent that usually you'd expect it to stay quite consistent, but there you can see, certainly from Edwards to Rizzo, it does vary a little bit, just Edwards pegging back a couple of tenths on that last time round, gap between the top 3 down to 1.8 seconds. I'm not quite sure who's got the control of the race at the moment, because usually I would say, you know what, Rizzo's probably going to win this one, Daniel, because, you know, he's won from this position so many times. He doesn't always get pole, but he always ends up winning the race. But he's not really running close enough right now to Theben in order to get a draft and to save fuel. So I'm not sure if he's kind of holding something back here, Rizzo, or whether he is absolutely pushing as hard as he can. It's tricky to tell at this point.
Yeah, I think looking at the attitude in the cars at the moment, these three really in fine conform of where they are, and obviously showing the mastery of those 3 different manufacturers out there. But I think for Rizzo at the moment, just looking at the way he's positioning the car, looking at the sector times, he's gone purple in sectors 2 and 4 throughout the course of this lap, so certainly coming into favour with the Ford at the moment. But just sitting back, we've seen it over the course of this time, he'll just look after the tyres, try not to give it more than he needs to, because it is still a long race. We've got 25 minutes still on the clock here, and he's going to just start applying the pressure slowly. He'll start bringing the gap down, and it's already starting to come back down again now, down to 6 tenths of a second. So this is starting to maybe turn a little bit in the favour of Rizzo. And I was saying earlier, with looking at what they were able to do in the practice sessions that went up throughout the course of the week, the Ford was by far the more comfortable out of all these 3 over the long run.
Yeah, it could well be where its strengths lie. So, yeah, Rizzo is like he's been so good in the endurance meetings, of course. So, as the race extends, could be coming to him. And, of course, he doesn't have to get it done on track. It's probably going to be under the pit stops, which is going to be his best opportunity. Hopefully Rizzo goes for it. I know he wouldn't like to crash out and finish off the podium for the first time this season in the last round of the championship, but come on, live a little. He can go for the move. He will win the championship even if he non-finishes and Edwards wins the race. So he can afford an incident. Hagen under all kinds of pressure from Sosowski. These guys lapping about 6 tenths of a second a lap slower than the front runners. Huppert's gaining on them by about 3 tenths. Janssen very quick on that lap actually, in 9th place. Steve Janssen doing a good lap there. He's much faster than these guys, albeit you can see visually decently far away back. He's 7 seconds back. I doubt he'll make that up in the remaining 25 minutes. What's this up for? Well, Janssen bit slow. I think he may have been starting to get held up by Martin Chris, but Janssen driving very well. Had a good Phillip Island round, I think, Janssen. And just looking at that car, looks way faster than the Ford, as Cullis has done an off-turn at turn 1, it seems. Has dropped a couple of places. He's down to 12th position now.
Yeah, has managed to get that car back underway, so not too much of a damage. We're going to get a quick look at the replay just to see where this one unfolded. And the run into turn one is a little bit of a tricky one. It makes you come in very, very late. And looking at that one, he just hit the brakes very late on. Lucky not to be collected by his teammate there. I think that might have been Nicholson or possibly Spezio going through. So very fortunate not to have been drilled in the sideline. But here's a look on the onboard shot. Actually lost it on the initial turn in, so maybe just a little bit late getting the gear change down there and the back end of the Ford going around, but fortunate not to get collected or find his way into the wall there. So we get back underway, not too bad, but yeah, a little bit of an awkward situation for him to be in. As you see this fight further up the field, Nicholson, Huppert and Sizalowski. Actually a bit of a moment there for one of the back markers, that was Whitesell, just making a bit of a meal of that final chicane and then stepping to the side. So great camaraderie there just to let everyone else go through.
Apparently Whitesell just set the fastest second sector of anyone. It's just pops up bright purple on my screen. He literally gained a 10th on the I mean, it's possible. I don't know how he managed to do that. Whitesell, he's figured out something. Maybe he absolutely nailed the chicane. I think the second sector is only 12 seconds long, so it's actually like 2 corners, I think. But he absolutely nailed that one. Look at this now. Top 3. Poor lap for even. So Edwards gained by 3/10 in the first sector on this lap alone. So that's turn 1, 2, 3 and 4, I believe. So that's kind of the first left and then the few right-handers. And then maybe a little bit off the back straight before the chicane. And yeah, Edwards gained a heap of time on them, and then he gained another. So he gained about 7/10 just through the first third of this lap, did Edwards. So he's right onto the back of these guys now. And so the gap 0.85 between the top 3. Still no sign of any moves from any of them. Overtaking just seems too difficult around this track as Crisp becomes one of the first front runners to come into the pits. And I do wonder, Daniel, if maybe Edwards will go for the undercut as well. It's risky because if he came into the pits, he'd probably... Well, you know what? There's a bit of a gap because between Whiting and Hughes, there's only one car and there's about a 30-second gap. So I think if these guys came into the pits, they might actually get into a gap just behind the 12th placed driver and might be able to find a bit of pocket of air. So I think the undercut might be possible for these guys.
Yeah, it's definitely on the cards here. I mean, the track spacing is relatively okay. It looks like the guys definitely have an opportunity to drop into a couple of holes there. So Martin Crisp has now got himself back underway. He found a really nice spot of clear air to get into, so he should be able to work his way forward, get into a rhythm. But for those guys out the front, as we see the train of back markers up ahead, this is the time now where we're going to expect to see them all start firing in the lane. See whether anyone blinks here. And massively quick for Edwards. Don't know whether there was some contact with Rizzo, but we saw both those two off in that final corner.
Oh, Craig, you embarrassed yourself there, because that was... I said it earlier on about how easy that is to do, and I was just going to say, you know, maybe Edwards doesn't want to undercut because his line is going to be compromised. He really went for this one because he wants to get the best turn in, best entry as possible, but that was just... yeah, he just didn't take it into consideration. Hard into the wall. And well, that's a shame because Edwards and Rizzo have been by far the best drivers so far this season. They dominated the championship. And that is a shame for their rivalry to pretty much end this season because, well, you know what? It shouldn't be too bad for Edwards. Edwards might be able to come back at Rizzo later on because I think he did manage to get it back to the pits under his own steam. He's actually coming out of the pits now, is Edwards. So he's still front of the drivers who have come into the pits. But he did lose quite a bit of time, I think, in that one. He's only 6 seconds ahead of Huppert's now. So it could still be close between Rizzo and Edwards, but I assume Edwards will be getting a penalty for wiping out the championship winner.
Yeah, well, I did hear a call from Rizzo just confirming that one with race control to get them to have a look into it. But yeah, not a great way to go to the start of the pit stops for these top three, but it is very reminiscent of what we would expect to see when the guys go to the likes of Montreal, for instance, where the pit entrance again on a chicane as we see all those guys fire in. So I think for Edwards there, just missed the braking opportunity, may not have caught the brake lights from the Ford there as Rizzo was trying to slow that car down, but yeah, definitely pending a potential penalty for him, but we'll see what results of that one there. This battle for 18th and 17th starting to heat up. James Foster on the back of Paul Warwick for Fisher Motorsports, who these guys a little further down from the team car, Michael Whiting a little further up the field, but a good run for both of these two down in the lower spots inside the top 20, and a move down the inside. Foster not quite able to get it turned up or slowed down under brakes, but will pull that move off. So great run through the final hairpin there, but will we see a redress of turn there? Paul Warwick's going to be in prime spot down in towards the chicane, and that's a great braking job between those two Porsches.
Yeah, nice move there. Nice turn, because I had to turn out of the hairpin in order to avoid the incident, but then managed to retaliate back into the final chicane. Hupper's ahead of Huggan now, so Hupper's up into 5th, and that's Soslowski. Yeah, so Huggan's already pitted then, so Soslowski will be close to those two. Rizzo into the pits. I mean, it doesn't really matter where Rizzo comes out, because we know that he'll be ahead of Hupper's, even if he's around Edwards, which would be quite cool to see. Edwards didn't fix that car. He's still got a bit of damage on the rear wings. I don't know why he didn't take his fast repair. Yeah, you can see the damage. You can see the scuffs on the front corner. So that didn't make sense from Edwards. I think Rizzo might come out around Edwards, but Edwards will surely get a penalty. And there you go, 15-second stop and hold for the 928, and he is going to serve straight away. I think he would have been behind anyway, judging from that, seeing that he's seeing that Rizzo is now leaving the pits, so that will promote Soslowski. Is he up into 3rd place? It's going to be close between him and Huppers. Soslowski's lost out. I'm surprised. I thought Soslowski would have the jump, and he's actually lost out to Nicholson as well. So Soslowski, despite having a really quick stop, it was a very quick stop for Soslowski. He's still behind Nicholson, and he's behind Huggan, who he was right on the tail of, and he's behind Huppers. So must have been a poor in-lap, I can only imagine, there for Scott Soslowski. Because, yeah, that's a potential podium probably gone out of the window now. But that penalty now for Edwards has put him back down to... Oh, wow, he's still stationary in the pits. I don't know why he's stationary in the pits, Edwards. Yeah, this is a way that we want to see the championship end. Well, he has fixed that car now. It was only a 10-second stop and hold, wasn't it? But he was stationary for 43 seconds. So I don't really know what he was doing there. But there you go. He's back out in 24th place.
Yeah, a lot of work to do to recover following that one. So we'll see what he's able to make of the night, because there are still points on offer if he can get the car further up. But yeah, not a great battle there. This fight between Foster and Whiting still continuing on. Another lap, another spot, or almost in the identical same spot of where we saw the last attempt at overtake. And I think Foster's now got that car up alongside, but Whiting doing a fantastic job to come back through the chicane. And then McCartan and Dalton now closing in on the back of this little fight also.
Real nice racing. I think it's getting a bit aggressive between them two. They're doing their classic driving into one another whilst driving down the straight, but it's almost like just trying to tighten up the inside driver's line if you're on the outside, and if you're on the inside, you're trying to open up your lines. That's kind of why you make collision in that one. Door handles won't like it too much. And Whiting holding onto that place though, with 14 minutes to go. And you're right about a couple of other cars lining up straight behind. There's Gardner. He's onto the back of Butler, who recently came into the pits. I think he's also just had a rubbish lap, did Butler, that last time. I lost about 10 seconds, so not quite sure why. Maybe, yeah, not quite sure why. Maybe he had a bad lap there, Butler, but Gardner could well be passed quite soon. I think we'll have to go back to that Warwick, Foster, Whiting battle. That's Whiting lost out in this one. Was it always? So we're about to find out. Here we go.
Yeah, you see that move again. So Foster lining up in the same spot as the last two attempts, or actually different spot, down into the chicane there, and gets that move nicely done. So that's the second chicane down to the back as I head up towards the hairpin. He got that done with ease and already started to put a gap there on Whiting.
Yeah, here it was. When you can make a move like this, as you say, he made it with ease. It makes it look like an easy move, doesn't it? But you gotta have faith in your opponent and good respect for the guys there, because maybe they could renovate this circuit. I don't know. It would potentially lose its feel. I think they have talks about actually making some adjustments to this track to make it a bit better for kind of endurance racing and or kind of just holding international events. Because you do risk losing the feel of it, but so many of these chicanes you cannot run too wide. They're just too narrow. It would be cool if it was possible to do that, but in the sim racing world, we don't get too many of the circuits like this, so it is nice to visit these places occasionally. It's with a different racing dynamic around these tracks. So Hagen in 4th place. It's looking pretty good now for Hagen. 4th. Uppers has done really well to get back up to 3rd. Nicholson, though, with Sislowski, he's going to have to overtake Nicholson for a 2nd time tonight. And Janssen, really under the radar, has just been lapping insanely. Janssen was half a second faster than the race leader that last time round. I mean, he's literally probably the 3rd fastest driver out in circuit. You can see Uppers isn't too far up the road. Janssen with probably his strongest race of the season. And he has got a chance of a top 5 here.
Yeah, Janssen really been coming into form, especially in the Porsche here. So great to see him getting a good result. He's gained a couple of spots throughout the course of this run, and probably not ideally the qualifying that he would have liked earlier on. But race pace has been fantastically good. And talking to him earlier last week, really coming to grips with the car, loves driving the Porsche and doing a standout job here. Surprised to still see him as privateer. Surprised none of the bigger teams have yet snapped him up, but doing a standout job there currently, and starting to really narrow the gap down between himself and Sislowski, and you can just see Nicholson too in the top of frame. So not much separating these three.
Wonder what Janssen can do from that position with no pit stops to go. It's unlikely that there'll be a safety car. So he'll have to pull off some gutsy moves in order to gain those places. Oh, is this Warwick and Foster again? Calm down, guys. Warwick can't get back at Foster. So whoever's trailing in that battle seems to be the faster driver. Foster, after an instant earlier on being hit off by another driver, it was by Whitesall. Covering very well, back up into 13th place. By the way, of course, this is the season finale. I see off the Track Racer GT series. Just a quick rundown of the championships. Rizzo already winning the championship. It's been an incredible season for him. Won almost every round. And so he's leading the way ahead of Craig Edwards in the Pro Championship. There was a chance of Martin Crisp coming back at Top Hagen, but that's not going to happen anymore because at the moment Hagen is beating Crisp. In fact, it may have been mathematically impossible in the first place with the job scores, but that is the dynamic there. So Hagen's going to be your pro champion. In the amateurs, Jesse Butler is going to take quite a comfortable championship win ahead of Michael Whiting. The closest championship in the closing stages of the season, at least in the drivers, has been Christopher Hughes, Paul Warwick and John Puce going for the rookie championship. But Hughes has had a couple of very good rounds. I think got 6th place back at Spa and an 11th place here would definitely seal it. Again, he may have already mathematically had it with the drop score. Interestingly, with Hughes, he's actually scored less points than Warwick and Puce, but the drop scores means that he is ahead. So I guess he did need to get a result here today, and it looks as though he is going to be able to do that. So Christopher Hughes looking good for the Rookie Championship. One of the most interesting championships has also been the Teams Championship, and in that one, despite Trak Esports winning all but one of the races so far this season, looks like people might make that all but two. XRC are leading the way with 19,954 points. They'll break the 20,000 point barrier tonight. Trak Esports with 19,621, so 300 points between them. It's a pretty small gap, but it looks like XRC with another strong result tonight are going to be able to take that championship. So that one's been properly hard fought, been very close between those two teams all the way through. Trak Esports not fielding all four drivers, though at times I believe you can field four drivers and your three best scores get counted. I think they've only been fielding 2 or 3 drivers have Trak Esports for most of the rounds, so haven't been able to quite take that championship, but looks like XRC will get a second championship to go with their Pro Drivers Championship for Tom Huggin.
Yeah, they've done a stellar job. I mean, they're thereabouts as far as the minor placings have gone for that team, and testament to what they've been able to achieve in getting the points up there. So this one fight between Crisp and Hughes now starting to heat up, 7th and 8th position. Just on the back of that, another one of the Trak Esports cars in the hand of Martin Silvassi, the C8 there, coming into favour. So these three really starting to fight up a good little battle, and it'll be interesting to see where these guys are looking to make those moves. Obviously, we've seen the guys down in towards the chicane, down into this spot here, and then down into the hairpin. And Silvassi, very nice under the brakes. They're able to close right up on the back of Hughes. That gap is just seesawing at the moment, sitting just on that half a second as they work their way up towards the hairpin. But the Constantina effect for Silvassi there, very, very good, and he should be able to start making a little bit of inroad. It was quicker last time by, and expect to see that again this time as well.
Yeah, he is like as strong as Silvassi. About 10th of a second past that last time round, and so Hughes rapidly catching up to these guys as well. I wonder if Hughes will be go straight into pro next season. Will it be amateur? I think he'll have to be pro. You see, he's beating all the amateurs, so he's very good. If he goes into the amateur, then he might make a back-to-back championships next season. Of course, Huggin won. I believe Huggin won the amateur championship and also won the pro championship. So he will be a 2-time champion as well. And it's very rare that you have 2-time champions, because winning 2 consecutive seasons or 2 championships at all is very tricky to do in this series. So that is by no mean feat, even though it is just within your own class. By the way, thanks to E53 pointing out my error earlier on, as Hughes moves ahead of Silvassi about the Warwick Whiting battle, about it was another Fisher Motorsports car. It turns out that Foster was actually making a lot of progress and had already caught up to the next one, as a bit of damage actually on that Christopher Hughes car, but it's not slowing him up. He's up into 10th place.
Yeah, that was a nice run through there. A little bit of an awkward run through the chicane there for Silvassi. The C8 really not handling those curbs well at all, and fortunately for him was able just to hold on to that car, but did lose the spot as a result. But he has closed right back now up onto the back of the Christopher Hughes car. We'll see whether he can try and redress that situation and start the transition again all over to try and close back up to Crisp and see whether he can get through. But might just take a lap or two here just to resettle the confidence and get back in. But they are definitely running out of time, as there's just under now 4 minutes left on the clock for this final race of the championship.
Callis, we're speculating, is in for a penalty or has underfueled that car. So he's in for his second time tonight. I'll keep an eye on whether he just goes straight through or whether he comes to a halt at all. Shame for Callis. Will promote Edwards up a place, though, I believe. Yeah, Edwards will be able to move up into 23rd place. After, of course, a collision with Ross Rizzo as Theben close to the fastest lap of the race. In fact, Rizzo, what is the fastest lap at the moment? It's actually Edwards with the fastest lap. Yeah, so Edwards with the fastest lap that last time round, absolutely storming along, albeit the top two as well. I mean, Edwards 24.72, and then Theben was a 24.87, Rizzo a 24.74. So all of them are within a tenth and a half. As Zyslowski is off the track, and Scott Zyslowski, who I really thought was going to get a podium tonight. Maybe I'm making stuff up, but he was right on the tail of Hagen before the pit stop, and then for some sort of reason he lost some time, and that looked like netcode upon first viewing. There, Daniel, I don't know if you saw it any differently.
Yeah, a little bit of a trigger one. It looked like Janssen managed to try and get the car up the inside. This will be a really telling one, the onboard shot from Janssen's car down in towards the braking zone. Not quite close enough to get that move done. Makes the contact, which I think might have been netcode as the guys tipped into turn one there. Doesn't look like any damage on Janssen's car, but Zyslowski had a big tour through the gravel trap, able to get back underway, but yeah, a bit of an awkward position for those guys to be in. Dalton closing in now on the back of McCartan. Let's fight for 16th. So here we are, race control pretty quick on that one. So netcode, no further action as a result. And that racing will get back underway. Dalton doing a really good job down in the 17th spot, all over the back off McCartan. Made a really nice run through that final or that mid chicane there. We'll see whether it's set up for a run in towards the hairpin. The BMW very good, but McCartan just slices across the nose there, a little bit defensive, and these guys are fighting for every final position they can to get themselves a nice solid result to conclude this one. As we see in the background as well, Bobby Jovanovic having a run as well, first time back in the championship for quite a long while, and good to see him back out in the Fusion car as McCartan makes a big mistake in that final chicane, and that will allow Dalton through.
Yeah, straight through for Dalton. That move into the hairpin from McCartan reminded me of Mazepin yesterday in the FT. Absolutely maniac, that bloke. Slicing across drivers. Albeit, I will say that certainly it was nowhere near as bad what McCartan did there. That was just a little bit of a block, you know, when it's a fine line in racing, but you know, if you're defending to the limit, that's fine, but when the driver behind you moves across and then you react and cuts them off, then you know that just can't be happening, because that'd be mega dangerous if you're just swerving across the circuit to displace wherever the opponent goes. What's that? Someone's just dropping down. Jovanovic has had an off, unfortunately, on the final lap of the race. He is now a lap down. No, he's not a lap down. There is Timothy Theben. So he will not quite lap pretty much all of these guys. He's lapped Whitesell and Puce and Pellet. Pellet's many laps down. But he will not lap Edwards and Cullis and Co. So they will all be able to get their final lap in. But here is Timothy Theben, and he will be loving this one. One Esports yet to win a race this season. Really haven't come close to winning a race. Maybe a couple of occasions where Theben's had the pace, but he hasn't really come close to putting it on paper. It's questionable whether he is the fastest driver out here tonight. Rizzo and Edwards did look strong, but Theben got it done in qualifying, and he did look strong in the opening stages. The collision between Rizzo and Edwards has made it a bit easier for him, but it's a very well-earned victory. It's a very well-earned first race win of the season. Timothy Theben wins round 12 of the Track Racer GT Series at Zolder. There is your champion, Ross Rizzo. If it wasn't confirmed before, it's certainly confirmed now. For Trick Esports, he is the champion for this season, I believe for the first time. Congratulations to Ross Rizzo. Huppets a good recovery to finish third, and Tom Hagen can confirm the Pro Championship. He beats his teammate Martin Crisp to the title. Congratulations to Tom Hagen on that championship. I believe his second championship win in AMF history. The other drivers will come through now. Christopher Hughes, we can confirm, is the rookie champion. Congratulations to Christopher out there with a brilliant end to the season in particular. He takes a fantastic title there. Well done to Christopher Hughes, your rookie champion. And I think we can all but confirm XRC as the team's champions as well. I'm not 100% sure on that. The calculations are a bit more complex. But that is all but confirmed for that one. Congratulations to that team. As the rest of the drivers come through. It's always a little bit sad, Daniel, when the championship ends, as Edwards has had an issue right at the end. Not the final race he would have wanted, but he still gets second place in the overall standings. Yeah, it's always a little bit of a shame when the season comes to an end, but it's been another fantastic season of the Track Racer GT series.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal series. We've seen some great racing up and down throughout the field, some phenomenal results for all the guys at Trak.
Oh, may have just lost Daniel for a second there. But yes, to continue is point Tricky Esports. Yeah, really impressive. Didn't win the last 2 rounds of championship, 10 out of 12 in the end. We'll see if James Scott and Logitech G-Houses Esports can lock out all the race wins themselves at the end of the season. In the AOSC series, but Tricky Esports not quite being able to do it, but still, I believe Hartford's finishing in the top 3 places every round of the season. Dare I say maybe even the top 2 in every round of the season, which is absolutely incredible. That's like Schumacher 2002 level, isn't it? So well done to him. And we should be able to go through your final results then for this final round of season 13 of the Track Racer GT series. Timothy Fieben wins out 5 seconds clear of Ross Rizzo. Nathan Huppertz finishes in 3rd place. Tom Huggan, your pro champion, in 4th. Simon Nicholson had to fight hard. Well done to Nicholson, because I don't think he was the 5th fastest driver out on circuit. But I think he was closest probably to 8th fastest, but he still managed to get 5th place. Steve Janssen storming through the order. And I really question if Janssen qualified well, where he would have been, because he was only 22 seconds off the lead. And he was fast lapping equal pace to the leaders at some point. So Janssen, watch out for him next season. Adam Hughes was in 7th place. Then it was Christopher Hughes in the rookie car. Another top 10 for Hughes. He has improved immensely this season. Martin Silvassi and Martin Crisp round out the top 10. Then it was Scott Zizlowski, Aaron Specchio, James Foster, good recovery from Foster actually, Paul Royk in 14th. Then it was Michael Whiting, Amanda Dalton, Stefan McCartan, Tyler Bowen, Adam Gardner, Jesse Butler, Bobby Yanovich, apologies, and then Jordan Cullis. Craig Edwards was the last driver. Well, actually, Edwards didn't finish the last lap, so he was 1 lap down. Whitesell was 1 lap down, and Puce was 1 lap down. 24 laps down was Chris Pellet. Shame for him. And so we should be able to get some interviews with drivers. And first up, he just jumped in. Our race winner. For the first time this season, it's great to bring him back into the commentary box. Timothy Fieben getting Mach 1 Esports' first race win of the season. Congratulations, Tim. That one must feel very nice after a little bit of a tricky season.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. It does. It feels really good. Probably, struggled a bit this season with car speed and stuff, but Porsche obviously seemed really good around there. So it was good to have sort of a good quality result and sort of steer from at the front, which makes it easy.
Can you put your finger on your upturn in pace for this round? Because I believe that was your first pole of the season. I mean, is it just a track thing? Have you been able to put a bit more practice into this week? Can you put your finger on it?
Yeah, I think it's just probably a track thing. I think it just suited the Porsche. Probably done a few more laps this week. But certainly it was just surprising. It was just that closer this week. So not expected, but happy with the result.
And does that give you a bit more confidence going into next season that you're going to be able to, fight for a second crown?
Yeah, for sure. I'll always give it a crack. see what the new setups bring, and we'll retest all the cars and stuff, and see where all that where they're all sitting against each other. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy driving a Porsche, so I'd have to be a lot quicker than another car to sort of sway my decision. But yeah, looking forward to the next season.
Absolutely, and kind of what series are Mac 1 currently involved in? What kind of championships are you pursuing at the moment?
We've been doing, apart from obviously AMF, is Australian Online Gaming, which is the Porsche 911 Cup series that's run on a Wednesday night. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. It's quite, I think it's only in its second season, so been enjoying that. I like the series. It's it's all the same car, same setup, and it really just comes down to the driver. So there's a few quick guys in there. Josh Thomas has been over there, and Cooper Murray. So yeah, reasonably strong competition. So that's been fun.
Awesome. Well, really hope to see you back next season, Tim. I'm sure we will. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
No, just thanks to the Mark 1 Esports, and well done to Jesse Butler. I think he wrapped up the Pro-Am, or I can't remember, one of the championships. So yeah, good job to him. He's been pretty consistent all season. So yeah, congratulations. And congratulations to Ross. He's been mega, really. I think he's probably won more races than anyone I've ever seen in a season. So congratulations to him. It's a really great job. And I think the XRC guys took out the team's championship. So well done to them as well.
Great. Well, well done on the race win tonight, Tim. And we will see you back in, just a fortnight's time.
Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Timothy Thieben, that your race winner for tonight. Daniel, are you back with us now?
Yep, sorry.
Awesome. Are you happy to have a chat with Mr. Ross Vizor, our champion?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. Ross, congratulations not only on a great drive tonight, but also taking out the Driver Championship for Season 13. Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a far cry from, when I started in, Season 11 and just ended up backwards every couple of corners because I just couldn't get a grasp of the setups. But, this season has just been out of this world. I've won GT championships before, but usually on consistency and never through a massive number of race wins like I have this season. So it's super refreshing and just a massive confidence boost to head into the next season as well.
Absolutely, and before we go all back over the course of the championship, let's quickly touch base on this race. The car looked very good out there early on. Both yourself, Tim, Craig Edwards, very equally matched. I don't think there was much really separating either of the three cars out there tonight. Obviously, we saw that little bit of contact between yourself and Edwards as Edwards was trying to dive into the pit, which possibly ruined your shot there of having a crack at Tim for the overall. But following that, how did you find the car, and was there anything that may have hindered the run from that point on?
It was certainly a handful in the draft. The car has, if I can get the front end to dart towards these the chicanes, you just can rely on the traction to just pull you out and get you closer to your rivals. But it just wasn't happening. So I was just seeing Tim slowly getting away, even though I was convinced I was able to keep up with him. And then there was a period of the race just before the pits where I closed it down and I was like, here we go. Now I've got him where I want him. And then Craig unfortunately took the chance for the chance away from me to get the win. I did see the outlap looked like I would have likely gotten ahead with the gap as it was, but say la vie, that it is what it is. But yeah, the car was good, but yeah, a handful under the in the aero wash.
Yeah, we saw it throughout the course of the week through practice. The Ford looked to be probably the prize car to be out there in. It was exceptionally quick, and similar to what we've seen over the course of the championship, you've driven the absolute wheels off it again. Let's go back quickly over the whole championship, because obviously we've had a big raft of changes come through. Obviously, we had the balance performance issues that was brought in to try and level the field, which I think did a fantastic job to it. We saw a lot of different circuits to what we're traditionally used to from the GT style of things. How were your thoughts on that for the championship season?
Look, I certainly liked the idea of the calendar, but reflecting now, there needs to be, I think overtaking was just too few and far between, and tonight was kind of a classic example of that. But it was nice to visit different tracks. Tracks we don't normally use. They are wonderful tracks. Like Zolder is so much fun to drive, and so are half of the other tracks at least. Just in practice, I was really enjoying practice this season. But yeah, and the balance performance I think was handled quite well. It was a shame that the BMW was nerfed so badly with the iRacing balance performance, but I think the admins had their hands tied in terms of trying to bring that car back up to scratch. But with the exception of that, I think the admins did a wonderful job this season keeping the balance as it was. So thank you very much. We saw heaps of different cars at the front, and it was really good to see.
Absolutely, mate. Well, look, before we let you go and enjoy the celebrations for a strong race tonight, a fantastic result for the championship, and celebration of putting hopefully the number one on the side of the car next season. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out and a thanks to?
So to the boys at Trak Esports. Oh, and I haven't thanked or congratulated Tim on his win. That was a really good drive. So well done, Tim and Mark 1 on pulling that one off. I think that was a long overdue result for those guys. So well done to those guys. So the guys at Trak Esports, Trak Custom Fabrications, and Pro Sim Gear. And then to the guys at AMF, Apex Racing, Akuta, and Trak Racer.
Fantastic, Ross. Again, congratulations on a stellar drive and taking out the Season 13 overall driver champion.
So that was Ross Bizzo, your champion for this season. Congratulations to him. We'll have a chat also with our third place finisher. It's Nathan Huppers, who had... Well, you made that one tricky for yourself, didn't you, Nathan? It was that fourth place had the potential of turning into quite a dull race. And so you had a spin, and you got to pull off some very nice overtakes to get back up into the rostrum.
Yeah, I definitely made it tough for myself. How you going, guys? I made a small mistake, and I was cruising along just trying to keep up with 3 guys in front because they had a good pace, and I was just hoping to build a bit of a gap to Tom and that behind, and unfortunately got stuck behind him for a bit, and I got an overtake done on Simon Nicholson, I think it was, and he gave me some space, which was good. Managed to get an undercut in the pits, which was all I could really hope for. It was a hard track to overtake on.
Did you get the undercut then on Hagen, or did you get him done on track as well?
Yeah, no, I got it done on Tom. I had about 3 laps of fuel left, and I was gaining on, I think it was Martin Silvassi and Tom. They were nose to tail and I think slightly holding each other up. So I'd got within about a second, and because the pit entry, as you guys might have seen with Craig, you need some space to the cars in front because you can really fly into that pit entry. So I thought, well, if I've got a second gap, that means I can get a really fast pit entry and hopefully get a good pit stop out and come out in front. So just managed to come out. Tom came out just in front of me, and I managed to squeeze up the inside into turn 3 or 4, I think it was. So, but yeah, it was sweaty after that, trying to hold him off. He was driving really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking ahead to next season, you think that you're going to be able to finally take that championship because you came so close to winning the title a couple of seasons ago? You think that you kind of got the pace? You think you're going to be able to make that kind of step up next season to once again take it down to the wire?
Oh, look, I'm just in it to have a bit of fun, and I had a good season in the BMW a couple seasons back, and fortunately for some computer problems, could have gone down to the wire in that last round. But look, Ross and Tim and Craig in particular have just been so consistent and quick, and I've just got to work on consistency and been pretty busy with work, so I've sort of been a bit limited on practice and that. But I think I'd run out of talent before I could win the championship in this one, but I'll give it a fair shake. It's great to be in the top 5 at least, and I've got to be happy with that.
Definitely. Well, congratulations on another podium tonight. Nathan, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, look, a big shout out to the team at Fusion Sim Racing. You've had a good season. Not many of us have competed in AMF this season, but we've got 31 guys and have been around for 5 years or more now, and got a great bunch of sponsors that support us. So special shout out to simrigs.com, Psychonic Solutions, Eclipse Signage, Daryl Carter Plastering, And well done to Craig on the season as well. I think he's just been super consistent, like he always is. And we both haven't really enjoyed the Corvette that much. It's made it a bit tough for us, I think. So, he's done an awesome job second. So well done to Craig, and well done to Ross. Huge effort, super consistent, and did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having a chat with us, Nathan, and best of luck for round 1 next season.
Great, and thanks for all your efforts during the season too. It's been awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Nathan Huppert's there for Fusion Sim Racing, your 3rd place finisher. We're also going to have a bit of a chat now with our race admins, the guys who make this championship possible. And I'll hand over to Daniel to chat with Alex Bird and Dave Clements.
Thanks, Sam. Alex and Dave, congratulations on another fantastic season for AMF. You guys put a huge amount of effort in the back end, not only with the balanced performance, but also the race stewarding, and probably the unsung heroes of the season. For both of you, how have you found it so far this season, and how have you enjoyed it?
I'll let Alex go first and take that one if you like, mate.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think it's gone pretty well. We've made, as always, rulebook revisions this season, which have made, the stewarding process easier and more transparent for the drivers. I think that's something that we're always striving for, is to make the stewarding as professional as possible and as easy for the drivers to buy into as possible. I think that's what keeps people around when you have consistent and clear stewarding. So that's been a major focus. But yeah, I think it's just been and continues to be really excellent series. We just get a great field of well-intentioned people, and it's a pleasure to be involved in running.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, for yourself, I mean, you put a huge amount of time and investment in, similar to Alex, in the back end trying to sort all this out. Obviously, taking a little bit of a change of tack from being out on the grid and stepping back in behind the race control function. How have you enjoyed that this season?
Yeah, it's been serendipitous. Obviously, I didn't intend to end up in a situation where I was going to be race control this season, but look, and being able to step across and start having a really close look at how the series is run, how it all works from both the driver's perspective and from a race control perspective, it's been really interesting. And we've got some really good ideas for the series next season to make it even more professional. We really love when people just rock up and race with us, but it's really important that those who do decide to come for a race with us read and understand the rulebook, so that we can all understand the playing field that we're operating in and have a good time. So we've got some work going on there. Look, I'd like to throw some credit towards the Stigs, who have just done a sensational job building the setups this season, and then every week jumping in every single car, going out, testing, adding and subtracting weight to get the cars fairly equal, and really making a good show of it, so that irrespective of which car you're in, you can go out there, have a good race, and know that you're fairly much on a level playing field.
Yeah, definitely. I think from what we've seen over the course of the season with the balanced performance, it's really brought racing to a really solid point. And we've had on multiple occasions 3 or 4 different manufacturers fighting for it at the end of the day, which has been absolutely stellar. Are you able to give us any insights going forward, what we're likely to expect for the next season of AMF, for potentially anyone looking to come on board and try and maybe knock Ross Rizzo or XRC off the podium for not only the drivers, but maybe the team's championship next year?
Yeah, look, and mentioning the team's championship, I'll just touch on that before we come back to what's going to happen next season. But team's championship this season was taken out by XRC. Strength of numbers there is just fantastic. There are a lot of good drivers turning up every week, and the team's championship is calculated by the highest 3 finishes in each race from each team. Their points are added together to give the team a total for each round. They narrowly took it out over Trak Esports there. I'm not sure if you guys have covered the overall results with regards to all of the classes as yet.
We did touch on that. So we had Ross Rizzo we believe, taking out the
No,
the
that is
top
correct.
orders
That is correct.
and doing a stellar job with that one. I think
Absolutely.
Sam managed to also touch on the other positions, but by all means, Dave, let's run
Yeah,
back
yeah.
through
I
them
was,
again.
I was just going to add through Tom Hagen. Took out the Pro Championship this season and also had the lowest incident rate of anyone. So he's also the cleanest driver and came third overall, which just a sensational effort. Coming first in the amateur division is Jesse Butler, down in 11th place there. And the rookies, Christopher Hughes, took that one out in 12th position, just behind Jesse. So really good effort by all of those guys to really punch above their weight. I mean, those guys are top 12 of the whole group of cars, of which we had around 80 cars who consistently raced this season, which is just brilliant. Looking forward to next season. We're not going to break something that's or fix something that's not broken, I should say. And the series is really doing well. We went away from following an official series this season. We're going to move back to following an official series next season, and we'll be making announcements to that effect on the Discord channel over the next few days. We're also going to run the AMF Week 13 special event, which will be something to keep an eye out for. Again, keep an eye out on Discord for those details. Obviously, everyone's welcome into that, and should be a good time. More than likely will be an endurance race, and more than likely will be a teams race. Looking further forward, we are hoping to do something pretty unique to iRacing in a season or two time, where we will be looking at the possibility of having partially fixed setups. So if you jump in the car and you think, you know what, this car's not bad, but it needs a little bit of something to make it more to my liking, we're going to allow drivers to make some small adjustments to the cars to bring it into line with what they think it needs to be, and make the cars suit each driver even more than we already do. So that's the sort of things we're looking at coming down the line for season 14 for AMF.
Cannot wait to see that one come out, and definitely looking forward to the release of the upcoming calendar for season 14. I know Sam and I had the privilege of calling the races, but definitely got to say a massive thank you and hats off to not only yourself, Alex and Dave, but also the guys behind the scenes, putting in a huge amount of time and effort to bring such fantastic racing that we've seen again through this season.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And a huge thanks to Ryan Kolstad, Damo Mulqueen, Justin Cottrell, Kester Mack, not so much this season because he's been doing a bit of racing, but Anthony Winkleman, those guys are jumping into race control, helping out, and just making the whole thing flow smoothly. And certainly, last but not least, to thank the fantastic and ridiculously good-looking guys at Apex Racing TV, who have once again just gone to extraordinary lengths to both make the broadcasts just amazing, but also improve the way that we're able to communicate with the guys in the broadcast team from race control and send messages through and keep the viewers up to date on what's happening in the race.
Fantastic, guys. Well, look, enjoy taking a week or two off if you're fortunate enough to do so over the week 13. Enjoy your Christmases as we're fast approaching that time. Who would have thought we'd be saying that 13 weeks ago? And for everyone here, congratulations on another stellar season and for all your efforts.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Dave Clements and Alex Bird there. Some of the many race admins. Big thanks to them for making this championship possible. Daniel, it's certainly the best series to end this, because we know that it's going to come back in a very short amount of time. Just a word on Ross Rizzo. I know we've talked about him a lot this season, but it is incredible. I've never seen a driver so kind of unexpectedly improve. If you're new on iRacing, you're going to make some big improvements over the first couple of years. But I remember in my first ever commentary 3.5 years ago, Rizzo was out there and he was still winning races, obviously. But he's been around for a long time. It is remarkable to see a driver who's been around for so many years suddenly have such an increase in pace as he has, as he's managed to do, and really dominate this championship. And I think going into next season, he goes in as the favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're spot on. I mean, he's been very quick in a multitude of series prior to coming across here. And a lot of those series, too, let's not forget, were open setups. So there's a lot of time and effort that can be spent dialing those cars in. But to come into this championship with switching back to the fixed setups, obviously the balance of performance adjustments that we had throughout the course this year, and have made such a profound impact on the championship, won as many races as he did. I think it was like 6 back-to-back in a row. Did a stellar job, really found a nice solid groove with the Ford GT, and really made that car his own. So he did a fantastic job, not only driving that car, managing it, but looking after it, and being in those right spots with some fantastic strategy calls. Let's not forget those couple of races in the endurance where they were back-to-back pit stops throughout the fortunate safety cars there that also helped out get those wins. So it really ticked all the boxes from a driver standpoint, a management standpoint, a strategy calls. Did everything he needed to do absolutely perfectly, and hats off to him. He did a fantastic job, and for the result, goes away with the number 1 on the door at the end of this championship.
Yeah, he'll certainly be back. Very dangerous for Ross Rizzo next season. I think it's probably been the best season that I've seen put together in AMF. I've only been covering for maybe three and a bit seasons, I think. But no, I've never seen a driver dominate this championship. Getting more than 1 win across the season has historically been a very impressive feat, and Rizzo has gone far beyond that this season. So he's your champion. Tom Huggan, of course, your pro championship winner as well. Jesse Butler, your amateur champion, and Christopher Hughes, the rookie champion. Congratulations to them all for this season 13 of the Trak Racer GT Series. Big thanks to Trak Racer for coming aboard as the title sponsor for this season. Really recommend checking out their sites. Lots of sim rigging that you can get, lots of upgrades which look absolutely fantastic. So do go to Trak Racer. Also, big thanks to Acuta as well for sponsoring this championship, race management service as well, and Black Wolf Graphics as well. Big thanks to all those sponsors, because without them this championship would not be possible. Big thanks to the organisers once again for making this one of the most professional leagues, I think, on iRacing. The amount of time and effort they put in is really commendable, so big thanks to them for continuing to improve the championship season on season. A big thanks to the drivers for putting on a fantastic show, as they always do. We've had over 60 cars sign up for every single meeting this season. I think we've had close to 100 at times, and when you got that many drivers in pre-qualifying, then it really does make the field that much better for the race. So big thanks to them, and big thanks to you spectators as well for watching along, whether you're a driver watching back. Thanks for tuning in for the broadcast, and if you're just a fan of the series, thanks for watching this as well, because we wouldn't do these broadcasts if it weren't for you guys. So huge thanks to you for tuning in week after week. We'll be back with you then for season 14. It starts in just a couple of weeks' time, and another 12 weeks or so of racing will get underway, and we'll see if Ross Rizzo can defend his championship. But for now, from me, Sam Fitzpatrick, from Daniel Leeds and Scott Newton, we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time for season 14 of the Trak Racer GT Series.